All right, my name is Ravi Nayaranan, and I'm the Global Product Manager for Nordson Medical. I represent their core products and the quick connects. So primarily fluid management components. Now I'll talk about Nordson Medical. We do a lot more stuff, and the relationship with DSA and what we do for us and all that. These guys know that. But today I'll be talking about finding the right fitting. As you know, there's a lot of medical tubing sets, there's a lot of procedures, and lots of different components. My job here is to kind of like highlight some of the basic steps that engineers need to follow in order to find the right fitting. All right, so before we start on that, who is Nordson Medical? So we focus on three areas. One is design and development and the components and technologies. As I said, we have more than 7,000 different components like medical balloons, catheters, nitinol components, fluid management components like lures, threaded fittings, check valves, stopcocks, and all of that. And also at finished device solutions. So what you're looking for is a vertically integrated solutions partner for you. So these are all the products that we make. As I said, medical balloons, catheters, the whole slew of it. So some more information about Nordson Medical and where we are located, right? We have 15 facilities in the United States and international. Now the parent company Nordson is much larger, right? But talking about Nordson Medical, about 10 different facilities in the United States and 5 in Ireland, Israel, and Mexico. We have 1,900 employees and about 350,000 square feet of manufacturing space. So, obviously there's a lot of medical disposable sets, right? You have lots of fittings. You have check valves, stopcocks, lures, threaded fittings, and all that. So just highlighted, it could be really overwhelming. I just have a bag of parts that I walk around and people are like asking questions. I pull things out, but we have 3,000 of this, like 30 different product families. And if you do have engineers working for you, it is pretty overwhelming. As a product manager, I work with a lot of engineers who call me, and it's a little difficult, right? Because they don't have an NDA in place. And they're like, I can't tell anything to you right now, but I need this. I'm like, okay, what goes through it? Is it going to be on the disposable set? Are you with the equipment side? And they're like, I can't tell you anything. Just give me a lure with this. And 2 years later, I hear from their buyer, comes like, your product is failing. Well, if only you found the right fitting, right? Or told me exactly what you need, I could have helped you. So number one thing, right? This is not rocket science. The engineer knows it. What's your intended use? What is your application? Is it a negative pressure wound therapy? Is it a dialysis set? Or is it a vascular? Are you going into the heart? Are you going to a sinuplasty thing? Is it an angioplasty? What are you doing? What is your application? That's the number one thing. And then how will the fitting be used in that application? Are you transferring fluid in multiple directions? Are you preventing backflow like a check valve? Are you diverting flow in 3 different directions like a stopcock? Are you filtering media, right? What is the purpose of the fitting? Is number 2 that you want to ask. And most of the time the R&D engineers know that, right? How long? If you think an IV set is thrown in a day, no. It can be in a hospital on a patient for 72 hours to 96 hours, or even longer if they don't switch it, right? Some of them, like a blood pressure cuff, it's used instantly and thrown away, right? So you need to know what's the purpose of the fitting, how long is it going to be used. Number 3, what is the user interface? How is the paramedic or the doctor going to use it? If it is a check valve, nobody touches it, nobody cares. It can be any shape, right? But if it is going to be a quick connect where the doctor comes in and pushes it open, takes it off, if it's a lure, they need to turn it around. you have to identify what is the user interface. I'll skip the what aesthetics you need. What does that mean? I'm on a mute button? All right. And the next thing is configuration of the fitting, right? So do you need a small fitting that I can hardly see, or do you want a big connector, right? What kind of fluid flows through it? What is its viscosity? How much of a fluid that you want? Is it a 1 liter per minute, or is it like 3 liters per minute, right? So flow rate determines the size of the fitting. And then how will the fitting be mounted on the equipment side? Is it a panel mount? Are you taking the connector with the NPT thread and you're screwing right into the panel? You know, do you need a bar fitting where actually you take a tubing and slide over it? Or do you have an automation where you're socket bonding the fitting like, you know, boom, boom, boom like that, right? So you need to know exactly how your fitting interacts with your tubing set or with your equipment, right? And then what type of tubing will you use? Is it a PVC tubing, or is it a silicone tubing, or is it a hard tubing? I had a customer come today and said, I really like your fitting, but I have this hard tubing and I cannot use barbs. Do you have a solution? And I need to buy 100,000 of that right now. I'm like, I don't, but I would love to make one for you. She's like, okay, bye. All right. So determining the configuration of fitting and how the fitting interacts with your tubing set or the equipment is key. You know, this is important, right? There's always falls in that NDA clause that people don't want to share exactly what goes through it. I was talking to a customer in Australia, and he's like, I am washing probes, right? Ultrasound probes. And I have this proprietary fluid that goes through it, and I cannot tell you even if I have an NDA. I'm like, okay, how do I determine what the material is going to be? He's like, it goes in at 50 degrees centigrade. It is a proprietary mixture at 100 psi. Sometimes it could be like a gas vapor. I'm like, I don't know. You need to tell me what it is. So some of the stuff that, you know, you need to know what is the media. So it's just a saline solution or some of those weird chemicals that flow through it. How long will it stay in the line is pretty important so that we can determine or choose the right fitting, right? What is the temperature of the media? Is it 50 C? I had a guy who walked in. He's a startup company, used to work for Medtronic, making some of the electrophysiology, pretty top level stuff. I didn't understand any of that when he came and said, but he's like, I developed that program for them and I'm doing this. And he said, the material, his media is going to go in at minus 190 C. Can any fluid get into minus 190 C? And I've heard about 85, minus 85 for biopharma. That's how much you have to freeze so that bacteria or some organisms don't grow. Minus 85, minus 190. Exactly. But he's like, this is the stuff that I need. I need 6 pores. Things need to go through it. Minus 190 C and withstand 300 psi. Actually 500 psi. So, and then I started asking him, all right, would you be able to develop a custom program with us, and how much would there will be NRE fees and all that? And he took his bag and walked away. So, and then this is most of the engineers know this, right? They are willing to share this information. What is your maximum pressure? Is it 500 psi? Some of the vascular stuff that you guys work on, like DSA, I'm amazed. 1200 psi through a fitting. I don't know how you do it. I'm sure it's related to the flow path, right? How many times it will be used? How easy to connect and disconnect? You know, if you go talk to the nurses, they hate the Lewis. It sticks on, there's all kind of crud that gets in, and they need wings to open up, right? So, and they're like, do you have wings? Well, we don't make products with wings. That's a bad on our part, right? So they're like, no, we do need wings. You go talk to the physicians or the nurses, they are like, most of them have problems, right? You know, arthritis and stuff. You know, your fittings are so small, I can't interact with those. So we give them a quick connect with a latch, a push to connect, a push to disconnect. So you need to know so if you're a medical device engineer, you better talk to the doctors and the nurses. you need to know what their requirements are, what their pain points are. And this is another area that I see a lot with engineers. They don't think ahead about sterilization. Nothing wrong, but they need to think ahead on how their products are sterilized. Is it ETO? Is it gamma? Is it plasma sterilization? Is it autoclaving? What temperature are you autoclaving at? Is it 121C or is it 131C? So we can pick the right materials. What is your dosage, right? Literally most of the medical device products are gamma irradiated at 20 kilograms, right? But then you have this big pallet and some of the products are in the center of the pallet and they don't get to see the enough radiation if you're heating it with 20 kilograms, right? So many people opt to heat it at 50 kilograms or 80 kilograms. So here's the thing, right? Not all plastics materials are suited for sterilization. A Sidel will only withstand like 20 kilograms, nylon 15 to 20, polypropylene 50, polycarbonate 50. You need to know what your dosage is. So in order to find the right fitting, you need to know what your dosage, how you're going to sterilize, what's your duration. And people are really good at this, right? Biocompatibility standpoint. You guys know what happened with polycarbonate. This was a big craze a few years ago. Baby bottle issues, and people are like so crazy about BPA free. It's all gone now. I always wondered at that time, right? Polycarbonate, all right. It's a universal material, so powerful, promoted by GE at the time, and you don't like it? They're like, yeah, because of a few incidents related to baby bottles and the things coming out of the BPA, bisphenol, creating issues with that. So does it need to be BPA free? USP Class 6, animal derivatives free. That is a big word in medical, animal derivatives free. And then common things are REACH, the SVHS, which is substances of very high concern, and RoHS is very common. Biocompatibility is picking up in the medical world right now. A lot of people want to know from a component level biocompatibility, not just from a material standpoint, right? Because component manufacturers like us, what we do is we say, hey, the material manufacturer has biocompatibility, endotoxin study, toxicity study, would you accept it? Many device manufacturers now are asking us to certify from a component level. So that's difficult, right, from a surface area standpoint. Extractable, leachable, that's big as well. What is coming out of the plastic when you're exposed to like 50 degrees centigrade, 70 degrees centigrade? If you're exposing it to IPA at 50 degrees centigrade, what is happening to your plastic? What is it leaching out? So all the things that we just talked about, right, is leading to not only the configuration of the fitting, the size of the fitting, what the fitting is, but it's also leading to what the material do you want to take, right? So commonly used plastic resins in the medical device industry, you're looking at polyethylene, which is animal derivative free, polycarbonate, you all know that. Nylon, Sidel, Teflon, Kynar is getting popular as well. Looking to see if there is anything that I can add to the slide. Material plays a huge role in what we do, particularly with the medical procedures and the applications thereof. So, and then you come to the manufacturing part of it, right? That's where our specialty is. We are not a catalog house where if you're asking for the certification, I need to call the manufacturer, or if you ask for the MOQs and the lead times, I'll be like, wait a second, and I pick up the different phone and call the manufacturer. No, we make it. So we have 350,000 square feet of manufacturing space, about 15 different facilities all over the world, right? So know your expectations for cost. Because this is an important part, right? If you want to buy a part at 1 cent, you better be ready to talk about millions in volume, right? Otherwise it'll be like 10 cents. And sometimes there seems to be a disconnect when people are choosing the right fitting or talking to the manufacturer, right? You're like, I want this minus 190C, I want all that 6 ports, but I'm going to only buy 1,000 units. Well, it's okay, we will work with you, we'll develop the solution, but then it's going to cost you maybe $100 a piece. You can't expect that to be, 15 cents, right? That's our automated facility in Colorado. Lights out operation, 24/7, all electric injection molding machines. So you wouldn't believe like a mission like that could be $1 million with complete automation. So final thoughts, I'm kind of finishing the presentation early, but I'll be here to answer some questions. Fluid management fittings, they look very simple, right? Sometimes my colleagues and I feel that we don't get the due respect, we do. I'm crying now, sorry, but the DSA folks look at us and like, you're fitting guys, component guys. Look at me, I'm making vascular devices, goes into your heart and looks very fancy. But no, they are a critical piece, and our customers tell us that this is pretty important. So some of the steps that I talked to, like the media compatibility, know what media flows through it, what application it is, how long, patient side, then it probably could see a MRI, right? Just shouldn't have any metal on it. If it's on the equipment side, all kind of dirt can go on it, no problems. Just kidding. So biocompatibility requirements, your regulatory requirements, are you going to do a 510K? You kind of summarize all that. There's a lot of things that you need to ask and be prepared to know in order to choose the right fitting. Okay? So that's Ravi Nayaranan for you, NPR 101.1.